Thank you. Mutsimisk. Thank you. On not even noon, and it's already your second diplomat. You've met your quota for today. Look, I have to admit right from the outset, I feel a little out of place. I prepared notes for myself on paper. You remember paper, yeah? And as we've been going through some of the presentations, I've been making some pretty quick revisions with a pen, which is filled with ink. But this will be a bit of an analog presentation and introduction to our next speaker. I'm going to talk up Canada a little bit here. That's my job, and particularly one Canadian company that has been particularly innovative, and that is Hootsuite, which is based in my hometown of Vancouver, British Columbia. Noel Pullen from Hootsuite will be out in a moment to give the next presentation. Hootsuite is not only an icon of Canadian cyberspace, it is an icon in the Canadian marketplace. After being established in 2008, Hootsuite set a Canadian record by raising a total of $250 million in venture capital investment. And today, Hootsuite's software products are used by 10 million customers in more than 175 countries to manage all aspects of their social media presence. Let me say that in my own profession, that old archaic profession of diplomacy, we now speak in our foreign service about Hootsuite diplomacy. And this is the idea about having modern 21st century ministries of foreign affairs that can draw upon the tools that are out there in social media, including Hootsuite, to pursue and promote foreign policy goals through social media. And it's about how to create a brand for a nation, for a country, and as we project our national image abroad and indeed across cyberspace. So since 2014, Hootsuite has also had a strong presence here in Romania with a team of more than 50 IT professionals, and I understand Hootsuite in Romania is only poised to grow further, and so they're hiring folks. Noel Pullen, who I mentioned before, you'll be hearing from shortly, is Senior Director of Technology at Hootsuite. See, this is why paper's no good. It's getting in my way. Noel is Senior Director of Technology at Hootsuite and has a very important role in the company. If I could put it in a way that I understand, I think he is an ambassador like me. He's a cultural ambassador within his own company. He's the man responsible for shaping Hootsuite's technical culture and making sure that those who design and build and deliver Hootsuite's products do so in a fun and creative environment. So more about that in a minute. Now, I should say that for all that Hootsuite is in its own right, it's what Hootsuite represents more broadly that makes me particularly proud as a Canadian, because it's the health and the vibrancy of the Canadian ICT sector, which consists of almost 37,000 firms, created close to 500,000 jobs, accounts for 4.5% of Canada's GDP, and which generates $160 billion annually. You know, we in Canada, we don't have a Silicon Valley. We're a Silicon nation. And much as Vitaly was saying in the first presentation, when he showed that variegated map of the United States, that's what's happened in Canada as well. It's not just the traditional big cities of Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. We have IT hubs in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Halifax, Nova Scotia, in St. John, New Brunswick. So although as ambassador here in Romania, I have every interest in seeing the ICT community in Romania grow. For those of you who are looking to come abroad, Canada is a great place to pursue your startups and to pursue your IT goals. A defining characteristic of Canada's ITC sector is the rapidly increasing rate of innovation and productivity that we see in the sector as well as in ancillary sectors. That is to say, it's not only in the industries that produce the hardware and the software and the components and the content and the services used in ICT applications. It's steady growth in those sectors that benefit from the adoption and the use of those technologies. And in Canada, those are what we might consider what you call vertical or very traditional sectors or industries. Look, we used to be a nation of lumberjacks and miners and farmers and fishermen, and actually today we still are. But we're doing all these traditional things with a degree of cyber and social media literacy because of companies like Hootsuite, that has kept Canada at the top of virtually all global indices for productivity, for growth, for innovation, even in the most traditional of sectors. And this is where Canada and Romania actually have a lot in common. We Canadians, you Romanians, we may have grown up in traditional resource-based economies, but we're now both innovators and to use the current vernacular, we are early adapters of new technologies, and it's being applied to our traditional sectors. They don't necessarily, these new innovations, the issues that Vitaly, the new innovations that Vitaly was talking about, can be creatively disruptive. They need not be destructive. And of course, governments very much have a role in providing the conditions that are conducive to growing those traditional economies and pairing them with ICT so our entire economy on the national level can grow. But before giving the floor to Noel, I'd like to thank the opportunity to the How To Web team, Daniel, Bogdan, Adriana, Tudor, Mircea, Gabriela, for putting together such an impressive event and for bringing together so much talent and expertise. So thank you for having me today here at How To Web 8.0, 8 years and running. Have a great couple of days. Thank you very much.